Chapter 2 of Two Blue Vortex showed us something very new, and it's the latest jutsu by Boruto we've seen before. Get seated, grab your popcorn as we analyze this new jutsu of Boruto. And the surprising thing is that it's a common jutsu we all know, but in a more newer and magnificent form. But before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. This chapter is called Tree, with timeskip Sarada being the front cover. The latest chapter showed us much action than talk as we see the battle of Konoha getting started. After a brief talk with Code asking him to surrender and he didn't, the battle between Code and Boruto has begun. We see Boruto slashing the claw grimes, which are Code's new army made from the Ten Tails, as if they are nothing. By the way, the other Konoha shinobis are not left out as we see them fighting these claw grimes, but none of them could match up to my boy Boruto. And even when Code tries to downplay Boruto's new fighting skills, the Young Uzumaki totally gives up in trying to make him see reason with him. He tells Code there's no cure to being an idiot. Boruto then unveils his latest jutsu, the Rasengan Uzuhiko. Although we don't really know what this jutsu entails, from the name we can dig out some things. Uzuhiko refers back to Boruto's family name, Uzumaki, and while there are multiple readings to the kanji, the final result can be translated as swirling LED or space universe. I can go with the latter because the Otsutsukis are fond of traveling through dimensions or space. Because we know that Kaguya came from the stars, Momoshiki travels through space, same as Urashiki, so it's a common thing for the Otsutsukis. They are just like space pirates, but in their case they don't steal treasures but go around planting seeds that drain the planet of all its energy and genetic information to upgrade themselves so that they can transcend the third dimension. Then for the first one we mentioned, which also makes sense, is swirling LED. Given that the Rasengan is a wind technique and with the way it swirls around, and the chakra is a big spiral. So it kinda makes sense to call it that. So this makes so much sense because what we see is that Boruto gains some kind of swirl around his hands, shoulders, and this means that the Rasengan Uzuhiko may end up being the human version of the Rasengan, or even something similar to that of a chakra cloak. Looking closely at the manga panel, we see that there's actually nothing on his hands, which is significant to what we know Rasengan as. Instead, we see a swirl of air around his body. Instead of it manifesting in his hands, Boruto puts himself at the center of this Rasengan. He is now in the center of the spiral, which is made up of chakra, hence the name Uzuhiko. If the function of the Rasengan is to surround the user with the Rasengan, then the creation of this new move would most likely be credited to Sasuke Uchiha, his mentor during the time skip. Sasuke has done something like this before. He has used Chidori to cover his entire body with lightning chakra, thereby infusing every single one of his moves with electric charges. And if you can recall, the Chidori is a variant of the Rasengan, so this wouldn't have been so hard for Boruto to learn. Looking at this jutsu at a first glance, it's most likely less immediately harmful to your enemies than a full-body Chidori, but the effectiveness it offers for agility and defense is so immense. A gust of wind would definitely block any aerial projectile easily and also enhance Boruto's movements, carrying him over the ground. This Rasengan is more or less like a hurricane around his body that acts as a defensive shield, which can also attack simultaneously. Knowing how wind mostly cuts through stuff, like we see in Naruto and Naruto Shippuden, it rips to shreds anything that goes through it. It's more awesome when he uses it like chakra blades, which is the type that Naruto mimics and created the Rasen Shuriken. So wind essentially can be used to cut through trees, grounds, and even opponents. So this Boruto's new jutsu kind of works similarly to all these wind style applications that we've seen different types from wind users like Temari, Naruto, and Asuma. Going back to it, acting as a barrier, if it's some kind of shinjutsu or maybe a natural thing that Boruto does, I definitely see it as a powerful jutsu against Kawaki. And we know that Boruto's karma can shrink anything, so I wonder if he would be able to shrink this jutsu. But since Boruto is facing Code in the next chapter, we have nothing to worry about for now. It's just food for thought. Another thing I've seen people say is that this jutsu would work like Gojo's infinity technique in Jujutsu Kaisen. So Gojo's technique is basically no matter how hard you try to touch him, you won't be able to. The technique would slow you down so much that it's like there's an infinite barrier between the both of you. But I feel it wouldn't work this way because Gojo's infinity technique is on another level and Boruto's Wind Style Jutsu wouldn't definitely reach that level, and because the most obvious reason is that it's a different anime. It's just a fan theory of what some people think, and I'm just gonna leave that there. Now, moving back to the universe/space meaning of what Rasengan Uzuhiko is, there aren't many interpretations to go with this. Although one translation of the manga says that this jutsu is a power beyond karma which can make him control some sort of celestial force. This means he would be able to move or control celestial force or energy in the form of a Rasengan that cloaks around the body. How this would be effective in combat is something I can't say, but this is like the only route I can see going from this interpretation. It can also be that this definition is only talking about how powerful the jutsu is, which puts him in the tier of Kaguya, Momoshiki, and the lines. But Boruto wouldn't plan to destroy the planet Earth like the way the Otsutsuki wanted to, because it's literally the planet he lives on and the reason he's trying to stop the Ten Tails. This jutsu differs in several ways. Most fans understand that the Rasengan involves chakra accumulation in the hand, rotated at high speed, with shape manipulation and chakra control giving it form. Unlike the original, it doesn't inherently have a nature transformation. However, one can enhance it by adding nature transformations. Naruto incorporated Wind Release, creating the Rasen Shuriken, while Boruto added Lightning Release for the Vanishing Rasengan. Clearly, Boruto's version involves more than basic Rasengan as indicated by the swirling wind around him. This suggests the use of wind release in his technique. The Rasengan Uzuhiko definitely has immense potential, especially if Boruto adds nature transformation. Transforming himself into a human Rasengan and incorporating wind release would make him incredibly powerful in battles. Each of his strikes would be significantly enhanced, potentially obliterating most foes with a single punch. This enhancement would also greatly increase Boruto's speed. By utilizing wind release, he could propel himself swiftly, dealing massive damage to his enemies. Additionally, he could infuse this technique into his sword for versatile use in combat. Another interesting aspect of Rasengan Uzuhiko could be the addition of lightning release. Fans are aware that lightning release enabled Boruto to create the Vanishing Rasengan, making him appear invisible. If Boruto incorporates lightning release into this technique, his human Rasengan wouldn't just be powerful but also grant him invisibility. This would not only confuse his enemies but also lead to their swift defeat. The upcoming chapter of Boruto is expected to unveil the details of this new jutsu, Rasengan Uzuhiko. This jutsu came with so much excitement for fans that it even boosted Boruto's manga ratings on the Manga Plus app, competing effectively against Chainsaw Man and even One Piece with just 2 releases. Not only that, but there's much hype surrounding this new Rasengan, with fans calling it a new level of power. Even without seeing the performance of the jutsu in a fight, it has gotten many fans excited. And that's not all, people have also been speculating as to how this jutsu would function in practice. This move has also been compared to the Yuga-style Gentle Fist technique and to the Supreme Rasengan. What sort of powers do you think this jutsu would grant to Boruto? Infinity Barrier like Gojo or something more wind related? Do let us know your opinions in the comment section below, and thank you for watching.